Well, good. It's great to see some familiar names. Evelyn's also here. It's a good friend of ours in Melbourne. Um, and Ellen, it's great to read that you've got a startup idea. You're in the right place then. Listening in or potentially meeting people to collaborate with. Who knows? I'm Mbak Dina. Dina, she's the program director at the Greater Hub at SBM ITB. She's somewhat of a celebrity lecturer there as well, I hear. Because the moment she shared this event on her social media, the registrations just went through the roof. We had over 100 people registered today, which is wild. For most of you guys who have been coming to our weekly startup chats, and we've mainly been doing them locally here in Melbourne, we've got an average of, 8 to 10 people attend. So it's pretty crazy that today that's just blown up completely. So thank you, Tina, for collaborating with us. This was your idea, and I'm so excited. For those of us in Melbourne, it's the end of the day, so hopefully you guys have all had a great Wednesday. And for those of you in Bandung, and I know it's around 2:30 p.m. Hopefully your day is going well so far. We'll be starting in about 2 minutes. Just waiting for a few more people to arrive, and a lot of people coming in now. This is probably the biggest Zoom meeting I've ever facilitated too. Quite wild. I'm really glad to be sharing that with you guys. I am actually Indonesian, jadi bisa bahasa Indonesia juga. Tapi untuk teman-teman kita yang di Melbourne, for the benefit of those of you in Melbourne, we'll be running today's session in English. If you do want to ask a question later in the end, we'll have an opportunity for Q&A, and you'd rather ask in Indonesian, that's totally fine. I'll do my best at translating for you as well. Now, by default, hi, Sammy. So by default, you guys are all on mute. That's just for your own benefit. You're making sure no funny sounds get leaked into the meeting room. You never know what could be behind you. And if you aren't on mute, if you don't mind, just doing that now. And obviously, when you do want to ask a question later, you're more than welcome to do that at any time during this evening session. And feel free to just unmute yourself. Again, for those arriving, and if you haven't done it yet, just add a comma A or comma I to indicate whether you're in Australia or Indonesia, so everyone else can know where you're dialing in from. We'll start shortly. This is wonderful, considering, where most of us, I can probably confidently say all of us, are in isolation right now. Just grounding in the fact that there are 33 of you together in this room with me is really wonderful. Hey, Daisy. Isn't this crazy? We've got 35 people.
Yeah, for our weekly startup chats. We thought when we first started these, we thought maybe about 10 people every week would show up. So it's been growing over time. But this is a special one. So in terms of collaboration, so I think it's a super special one.
Yes, yeah. So Daisy is the program manager here at Spark Deakin, and yeah, it's really fantastic to be working under her leadership. We've also got Dr. Dina Deliana, who is the director of the Greater Hub in SBM ITB, Institute of Technology, Bandung. We were really lucky to get to meet her through Megan from the City of Melbourne. Hi, Dina.
Hi, Dilata.
And hi, Megan, as well from City of Melbourne. Thank you so much for making the time to join us today. All right, so we are running on a tight schedule tonight. We've only got 60 minutes together, although I'll be happy to stay in the end if anybody would like to, hang out and have a further chat. But for the benefit of everyone else who's scheduled in an hour in their evening or afternoon, we will wrap up the main offerings for the meetup within an hour. Okay, so let's get started then. When we start events in Australia, we always begin with an acknowledgement of country. So I would like to start by acknowledging that I am running this from my little apartment in Flemington in Melbourne, which sits in the lands of the Wurundjeri and Bunurong people of the Kulin Nation. So I'd really like to pay my deep respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. For those of you who are in Australia, if you don't know where your which area or territory your home is located in, I definitely recommend, finding out and just acknowledging that as well. So it's really exciting. We've got a powerhouse of startups, supporters of the startup community, and founders in today's call. We've also got Bu Orchid from the Indonesian Consulate General who's joined us. And so that's all very, very special. For those of you who missed—
a lot of people, 43 participants.
Yes, 43 participants. Welcome, Colin. I'm just going to mute you now for your own benefit. Welcome, it's so good to have you here. For those of you who've just joined, just add a .I or .A at the end of your name. So we can tell where you are dialing in from. So that's I for Indonesia, or A from Australia as well. We've also just got Madame Cecilia Legowo, who's just joined. She's the wife of the Indonesian ambassador in Australia. So welcome, Madame Cecilia. All right, so without further ado, let's just get started. I'm gonna pass on the floor to Daisy, our program manager, and she's gonna tell us a little bit about what we do at Spark Deakin, Deakin University's entrepreneurship program. Thanks, Daisy.
Thanks, Diletta, for bringing this together. Yeah, so as Deed's mentioned, I'm the program manager at Spark Deakin. It's so good to see so many of you tuning in today. So Spark Deakin is our entrepreneurship program that's part of Deakin University. We run a range of different activities, but I'll wind back to my interest in entrepreneurship and where it probably first started. So back when I was about 19 years old, I was in Thailand, and I was in my second year of my law degree, and I was doing this legal placement working with asylum seekers and refugees. And one of the opportunities that arose, not at the time that I didn't realize it was an opportunity, but someone from the International Labour Organization came in and said, does anybody want to volunteer their time to adapt a curriculum for the Empowerment Project? And I didn't know what that was, but I always used to put my hand up to do things like this because I had some spare time. I thought anything that's a little bit different to what I'm doing. Now, the Empowerment Project ended up being a program to empower Sri Lankan Tamil women with entrepreneurial skills. At this time, I knew nothing about entrepreneurship. I didn't really understand how entrepreneurship could be used as a vehicle for change, how it could be used as a vehicle to empower people, to be self-sufficient, for them to be able to create things and then to sell those things, and that would create some sense of agency, particularly in a context at the time where in Thailand at the time, refugees weren't recognized and they weren't able to get any working rights. So it was very difficult for them to have any sort of income, especially for this group of women. So long story short, I got involved in this briefly, and that ignited my interest in entrepreneurship. Once I saw what these women did, once they had some income, they started enrolling their students into Thai schools. They started learning Thai. They started integrating. But I think what was most inspiring for me is to see that they then got a sense of agency, that they spent, some of these were refugees in Thailand for about 5 years, and teaching them about cash flow, teaching them simple things around like product market fit, and connecting them with an engaged expat market and things like this enabled them to have a sense of agency and enabled them to empower them out of their situation. So that's where it started. And it's been a while since then, but that's what sort of got me involved in the entrepreneurial space. And I've been at Spark Deakin for about 5 years now. And it's been a journey where we've supported hundreds of founders. We have an accelerator that provides about $100,000 funding each year, $10,000 per startup, and it's a grant to the top 10 teams. When I started at Deakin, the startup ecosystem in Melbourne was very small, but it has grown quite a lot. Every sort of university has an incubator accelerator. It's really exciting. Student startups are popping out of all the universities. There's now other places for them to go after they're done with their accelerator, like in Melbourne, like Scalata and StartMate. These are accelerators that give about 10x the funding, $100,000 for equity. So there's pathways developing that didn't exist before, which is really exciting. I think in this journey, in terms of developing it, what's been really interesting is founders who are focused on really solving meaningful problems with innovative solutions. You'll get to hear from one later, Sammy from Sammytronics. He's going to be speaking later. He's brilliant. He's waving now. And founders like this who are working on interesting things. And Sammy's only, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's 19. He's quite young. And his sort of ambition and curiosity and passion to solve things like this is kind of why we exist, to empower students to do these things. And in a very, very practical way. What Spark offers isn't necessarily a degree, it's more a community, it's more combined with sort of practical education with people who have gone there and done it before, mentors, a support network and things like that. So I'll leave it at that. I'll hand it back over to you, Deeds.
Thanks, Daisy. Super awesome. And now I'd like to also pass on the mic, well, the figurative microphone to Dina, Dr. Dina Diliana. She's got a mic. She's actually a musician as well, which is super cool. I think her and Daisy both shared this quality of just being super powerful, strong, driven, and inspiring women. So yeah, Dr. Dina.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Dina. Well, actually, I'm the lecturer in School of Business Management of ITB, and also appointed as the director of the Greater Hub. So we started the Greater Hub since 2016 as the incubator under the School of Business and Management of ITB. So actually, our objective is to support the early stage tech-based startup to build a solid base to grow. So we are very selective that we only select 24 startup per batch, which has already have some early tractions, and they already run their own MVP. And per year we have 2 batches of programs, so from January until May, and then June until December, early December. So per batch, we have 24 startups, which 2 of them will be invited to these discussions, which one of them just get a seed funding, which I'm really proud of. Yeah, so we probably gonna hear a bit about the funding later on. And actually our program based on 3 staging. The first is the pre-incubation, incubation, and then the post-incubation. So our role actually to provide the best ecosystem for the entrepreneurs. Why? Because this is what they need most, instead of only money also. But like we provide them, we match them with the mentor, which we think fit with their industries. We also have technical mentors, which can help them to address some problems, technicalities. And also we provide some curriculum, which is based on the, we are using the model of a lean startup, and we want to make sure per batch during 4 months, they can actually reach some KPIs, their North Star metrics actually, and get the progress on whatever they want to achieve. So it's not merely only to find venture capitals or the investors, but actually grow their team, or actually get the good tractions and expand their business, and also increase their entrepreneurship activities. That's actually some of our key metrics in our incubators. And up until now, we already have 165 startups under our wings, including our alumni. And most of them actually, they have a different type of businesses. Yeah, I may say some of them are in agriculture technology, because if you know Bandung, probably some of you know Bandung or West Java very well. So we are up in the mountain. We have a very good land, so it is very good to to have like agricultural things, yeah. And then we also have a startup in biotech, in broadcasting, in cosmetic, in education technology, food tech, health tech, and then marketplaces like e-commerce, sanitations, sports, yeah, most likely esports, and startup in tourism, startup in waste management, and also in mental health. So it is very range. Yes, because we're not only focusing on particular industries. Everything attached with technology we accept. Yeah. Although it is not become their main, it could also become their complementary. But whatever it is, we always deal with startup connected with technology. And what we provide besides the mentoring sessions and all the program curriculums, workshop and everything, we also connect them with our network of venture capitals. So up until now, we have MOU with 17 venture capitals in Indonesia. So most likely at the end of the batch, we let our startups to pitch in front of the VCs, not only to find the funding, but also to get like a matchmaking in case they can have a broader network from the venture capitals. So I actually want to invite you also, Diletta, for this July event, the pitching session.
Count me in.
Yeah, so in case startups from Australia want to expand or to collab in Indonesian market, yeah. So I invite you to join in. Most likely it will be conducted online. Yeah, we never know when this pandemic will over. Yeah, but at least we can prepare for the worst. Yeah, and so we have many partners, and we try to expand not only locally but also internationally. Why do I reach Diletta and also Spark Deakin? Because I believe there are some similarities between our startups, yeah, in terms of technology, knowledge, and everything. For me, it is possible that what being done in our startups already been done in Australia, in other way around. Yeah, so probably we can exchange those knowledge. Probably we can exchange those know-how. Yeah, or probably we can add the market between the two startups. That's actually what we try to achieve here in this kind of collaborations. So hopefully after this event, yeah, something will coming. Yeah, so this is actually our first collaboration event.
Yeah.
I really hope that because we are really close. Now we have CityLink from Jakarta direct to Melbourne, right?
Yes, I think so. I'm not actually sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Dina, for sharing. And I share that hope with you. Absolutely. And on the topic of the relationship between Melbourne and Bandung, I might actually invite Megan Cockra from the City of Melbourne. They've been doing a lot of work in this space, especially since Governor Ridwan Kamil visited Melbourne a couple of years ago for the first time, and that relationship has been going very strong since then. And last year for the Open Innovation Program, the winners from Melbourne were sent to Bandung, and that's you know, just the start of, I think, this thriving collaboration. So Megan, I'd love for you to tell us a bit more.
Yeah, thanks, Diletta, and hello to everyone. It's fantastic to see such a crowd, if you can call it a crowd, online crowd. And yeah, great credit to you guys at Spark Deakin and Greater Hub for putting it together. So as Diletta mentioned, my name's Megan and I work in the international team at the City of Melbourne. And my role is really focused on building engagement with Indonesia, and particularly around City of Bandung. So looking at how we can create connections for our businesses, our startups, our universities, and the wider community, and really around looking at how we can help both our cities to prosper and grow. And we've specifically looked at Bandung because we see some really good alignment there. We've been building that relationship for a couple of years now, and there's a number of areas of mutual interest, and that's really around, I guess, creating smart and livable cities. And the other is around supporting, we're both looking at supporting how we support our innovation and startup ecosystem and how we help them to grow. So we've got a number of projects and engagements we work on, but the one I wanted to just touch on today is the Open Innovation Competition that Diletta mentioned. Excuse me, the City of Melbourne, we run an annual challenge on solving, excuse me, I just need a glass of water.
That's all right, take your time. And this is great timing because you're about to launch it again for 2020.
Yeah, so we run this annual challenge basically to solve a city issue. And last year we were very excited to collaborate with Bandung on that, and we did that with Greater Hub as well. Ooh, we're sharing a screen. And that's when we worked with Dina, so it was very exciting. So we're very excited to do it again, albeit in very different circumstances this year. But basically, to give you some background, our Open Innovation Competition is on a different theme each year, and it's a different city challenge or problem. And really what we're trying to do is tap into the creativity of our community. We know at the City of Melbourne we don't have the answers to all the problems, so we're really keen to open it up to our entrepreneurs, our innovators, our students, our businesses. It's really open to anyone in the community to come up with some bright ideas and share them with us about how they'd solve the challenge. And we really look to get people to use data and emerging technology in that. City of Melbourne has an open data portal on our website, and we put data sets up there that are open for the community to use to innovate. And for this competition, we also connect in with some of our partners, particularly the Victorian State Government, to share some of their data sets, and we put them online so people can use that for their innovations. And the topic this year is on waste and the circular economy. So it's a topic that I think is after COVID-19 is probably one of the hot topics as well, where we're really looking at inviting people to look at how we can innovate in our supply chains and systems to really create a zero waste economy in the city. And we've identified a number of problem areas around that, which will be revealed when we launch our competition. I guess key thing to know is there is a prize pool attached to our competition, which is probably the most exciting part, particularly a cash prize pool of $30,000, which is split between our first, second and third prize winners. We also have a number of in-kind prizes, which include access to an incubator program and innovation workshops. And the one that's dear to my heart is the international prize, which we deliver with our partners in Bandung. So as I said, I'm from the international team, so we added the international element to the competition for the first time last year, which we're running again this year. And it's really in recognition that these city challenges that we face in Melbourne are not unique to Melbourne. They're challenges faced in cities around the world, and including with our partners in Bandung. So we really want to encourage our participants to have a global mindset when they're looking at these challenges, and to think, how could this solution be adapted and applied to another city, particularly to Bandung, because that's our competition partner. And as I mentioned, the competition's open to anyone, so really there's plenty of scope to collaborate across countries and maybe look at submitting a solution that could be applied in Melbourne or Bandung or beyond that.
Thanks,
competition timelines is that it will be launched on the 21st of May, so it's coming up soon. We should have our competition website live hopefully by the end of this week. And we are launching virtually this year, so we will share the details about that, but everyone will be able to dial in, which is actually a good thing because normally you have it in person in Melbourne, and obviously that limits participation. Yeah. It's open for 6 weeks, so it's closing on the 3rd of July, and we'll have virtual mentors and experts available during that time to ask questions, including Diletta, who will kindly answer some questions, I'm sure, and share her expertise to test out ideas. And we're hoping to have a pitch event potentially in person on the 19th of August, otherwise it will be virtually. So yeah, just wanted to share that, and really keen to get as many submissions as we can this year and look at how we can solve waste challenges across both our cities.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I love that, that is going to be a tangible opportunity for collaboration that hopefully people attending today's session can consider as well. Thank you so much, Megan, for sharing. So I know from attending a lot of these Zoom meetups that the best ones are interactive. So we're actually going to chuck you guys into breakout rooms in a second. So you'll have an opportunity to meet each other and share a brief conversation. So before we do that, I just wanted to launch a really quick poll, which should show up on your screen now. And we've got 3 questions on the poll there. Whereabouts are you dialing in from? We'd love to know which one of those categories describe you best, whether you're a student learning about entrepreneurship, you're a founder, you work for a startup, a supporter, an entrepreneur, maybe someone who works for an organization and you're applying entrepreneurial skill sets in your role, or if you're new to the startup world, we'd love to know as well. And the 3rd question is my favorite one, which I ask in most of my Zoom meetups. Some Spark Deakin students who've attended, I think Vinayak, who's here, was at my pitching workshop recently. He knows. I ask that question all the time. Which of the following carbs reigns supreme? And unsurprisingly, rice is in the lead. That is a staple in Indonesia. So we've got 29 people who have submitted their answers to the polls so far.
I have a question.
Yeah.
When you say best, do you mean the healthiest or do you mean the tastiest?
Personal choice. Which one could you, if you had to only choose one for the rest of your life, you know, which one would that be? Really interesting results so far. I'm going to wait till we hit 40 submissions. So we've got 35 so far out of 54 of you. So I'm going to give it another second. Come on, guys. Oh, we've got 40. All right, sorry to the extra 14. I'm going to end that poll there and I'm going to broadcast the results so you'll be able to see. And I enjoy these things because without having to have direct conversation, we're able to get an idea of who's in the room as well. So most of us here tonight are in Australia, and I say tonight for those in Australia, and this afternoon for those of you dialing in from Indonesia. There's 2 people from other countries. Would you guys like to tell us who you are? I noticed, Colin, you've got an S at the end of your name. Where are you calling in from?
I'm from India.
Oh, we got Wildan from India. Great.
Yeah.
And thanks, Wildan. And
Thank you.
we've got an S over there as well. Are you calling in from Singapore? I'm just taking a guess here. You can unmute yourself, Colin, to speak.
Calling in from Singapore.
Singapore. Yes. I guessed right. Very awesome. Thanks for joining us today. And you know what? We've got 1 person dialing in from outer space as well. I think that's a first for the Melbourne startup community. Thank you, outer space participant, for joining us. So most of you are students learning about entrepreneurship, and 0 working for a startup, but most of you are founders and entrepreneurs, and a lot of you are new to the startup world. So that's cool to know. Unsurprisingly, rice did win, with pasta/noodly things not really far behind. All right, fantastic. So I'm going to put you guys into these breakout rooms now. They are randomized because there are so many of you, and there will be about 2 to 3 participants in the room. What's going to happen when you get thrown into the room is you're going to share, you're going to introduce yourself. Let the other person or the other people in the room know what you do, whether you run a startup or if you're a founder or what you're interested in learning at the moment. And what is your favorite local dish in the city that you're from? We'd love to know. So I'm going to generate these breakout rooms now, and you'll be in there just over 5 minutes or up to 10. I'll broadcast a message just to check to see how people are feeling in the rooms. And if you're done, you're obviously welcome to return to the main room. I'll be joining one of the breakout rooms as well. And I'll send another message at the end of the breakout room session to bring you guys all back in to the main room. And then we'll do a little debrief about what we talked about. Does that sound good? A little thumbs up, quick one. Okay, awesome. And this is, I think for me, this is the best part of getting to join one of these Zoom calls, because you actually have the opportunity to talk to one another. I'm not into the monologue style delivery. So we'll do that now. And I'll also broadcast the questions that I mentioned earlier so you won't forget it once you guys are in the room. So I'll see you soon. I hope that was fun, or maybe it was awkward, which is fine too. I remember the first time I was put into a breakout room, it felt quite disorienting, kind of just like having the rug swept from underneath me and I was teleported somewhere else. And I'd love to hear about some of the conversations you guys had in your breakout rooms, or even just hear about your experience and how that went. I'm just going to pick at some random people, see how you go. Ayu, would you like to share and tell us how you went in your breakout room?
Hi. Yes. My name is Ayu. I'm from Indonesia and I live in Jakarta. What we share in the our breakout room is we introduce ourselves and we how the purpose we join this meeting, and we share our background and yeah, maybe our dream about our startup or our business.
Very cool. Thank you. I'm glad to hear. And let me see someone else, maybe from Australia. Alessio, would you like to share?
Because I actually ended up in with Daisy, which we know each other pretty well. But we met Colin as well. So discussing about food mainly. Apparently Australia is really famous. Oh, has really good vegan food, which I definitely cannot deny or vouch for at all. But yeah, I think it was good. It was a good start. I guess Colin is working on helping startups, which is good to know, because I know Singapore is one of the really big headquarters for startups lately.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
I remember
cool.
a couple of months ago, I remember there were at least 20 calls from the Singaporean government. So yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Alessio. Yeah, definitely. I'm hearing about a lot of good things coming out of Singapore. Glad to have you here too, Colin. All right, so we're gonna, because we are pressed for time, we're gonna move on to the sharing portion of tonight, where we'll hear again from Dr. Dina and one of the startups from Bandung, who's gonna tell us a little bit about you know, some of the strategies that they've put in place to continue thriving despite the disruptions of COVID. And before I hand it over, I just wanted to say, I do recognize that in Indonesia, or for most people in Indonesia, Ramadan has started. So hopefully you're all, you know, off to a great start, and I wish you all the best with the month of Ramadan. Anyway, passing it over to Dina now.
Oh well, hi guys. I'm back. Actually, I bring two startups here, so I'll give them time like 5 minutes just to give a brief introduction about their startups and then what they're doing in this COVID situations. Yeah. So probably the first one I'll give it to Faiz. Faiz from Educa System. So can you just give a brief introduction and what how productive you are in this COVID situation?
Okay, hello everyone. So my name is Faiz, I'm from Educa System. Maybe a little brief about Educa. Educa is online test platform that wants to unlock students' academic potential in Indonesia, because we believe in Indonesia have great academic potential, but many students in Indonesia is still focused on memorizing the theory without know their application. Okay, maybe I want to share about our startup in this COVID situation. Actually, we have two strategies to face this pandemic. First is internal strategy. In our startup, first we want to make. We know all our employee will working from home, and we want to make sure we can fulfill the needs of our employee in home, like internet connection. Some employee we lend them portable Wi-Fi, or we give internet quota, because we want them work in home effectively. After that, we want to we also make sure they know we care about them. We sometimes we send them healthy food or face mask and hand sanitizer, so that makes they happy and feel a part of our team. And the last, and I think all company do this also, is we shift the reporting flow more transform reporting flow more technological. Many meeting online, video conference. Yeah, I think it's all company do this also. And the second is external strategy. In external strategy, actually, the most important thing is we saving our cash because we don't know what will happen next week, next month, and also after that we looking an impact to ourselves in this pandemic. Then we realize if this pandemic continues, buying power from user will decrease rapidly. So we searching way to force users to do purchasement in this time, so they can use our product anytime in this pandemic time. So we can save cash as soon as possible and prevent decrease of user buying power. And last, we create strategy also to face end of this pandemic. Let's imagine after this pandemic finish or over, many people will take off their boredom with going to cinema, restaurant, traveling, or any hobbies they want to do. So in that time, user buying power will rise significantly. So we must prepare marketing strategy to take that opportunity effective. Yeah,
Thank
maybe
you, Faiz.
just
Thank
that.
Yeah, and I just want to congratulate Faiz because Education System just got seed funding from former CEO of Bukalapak, Ahmad Zaki. So it's actually we are very proud of Education System. Yeah, thank you. Faiz. So the second, Bimo from Sportigo. Can you give a brief
Okay.
of your strategy during COVID?
Okay, hello guys. I'm Bimo, a founder and CEO of Sportigo. Sportigo is a startup that runs in the football industries. So basically, in simpler way, we make a LinkedIn for football players. So basically, we record every player's data from academies, from tournaments, from open plays, casual players, amateur to pro leagues. But as you can hear that I'm running in football industry, and right now it's a COVID situation, right? So actually, this COVID situation is kind of love and hate situation in Sportigo side. First of all, perhaps I will take from the hate side first. Of course, I can do my works in the office. I couldn't go to the office, of course. And I have so many projects. And it get almost all of it get postponed until the COVID situation is off, because of course the tournament, this kind of offline to online situation, so I couldn't go to the field, of course. And what more is the project is postponed, but there's a good side within it. So right now, it is the perfect time for us to rethink the business model, rethink the strategic marketing things. Because of before this COVID situation, we just mergers with some of analytics, football analytics companies. So right now we have like planning big things in the futures since now. So when the COVID situation is over, we must be ready. And but the funniest thing is this Ramadan, we will move the football things to online. So what we make right now is for the whole month, this COVID situation and Ramadan, we will have like online class with football players, online class and training session with the footballers. So both the users from offline to online, so they will have like have a taste what it's like to become a football players when they're training at home. Oh yeah, I forgot. Before we just launched since February. We have like for 1 month we have like gained 1,000 traction with the 20 tournaments that we handled. But right now our retention is 0. It's really 0. I mean, drop down like airplane crash. But right now the good thing is we can like get new strategies and yeah, partner up with things. This is kind of B2B model, is more practical ways suitable in this kind of situation, of course. And yeah, perhaps that is it. One last thing. If you I don't know in situation in Australia, but Indonesia, there's many students that need internship programs. Actually, like there's 30 students that want to have internship in Sportigos because they have to for grades, not for payment. So I didn't pay them any kind of cash. I just like giving them a grade because they need to have internship programs. So perhaps in Australia also, or you are a startup founder also, you can do this kind of trick and tips, I guess.
Great, thank you, Bimo. And Bimo, you also just successfully do the merger and acquisition, yeah, with one of the status company, right? In this situation.
So cool.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, so that's from our side, Dileta. So
Thank you. Pass on the mic to me. Thanks, Tina. It's so great to meet both of you, Bimo and Faiz, and to learn about the work that you've been doing and some of the strategies you've put in place, during this time. I'd also like to introduce one of our founders from the Spark Deakin community. He is actually also Indonesian, and his name is Sammy. He's waving now. So I'm going to pass it over to Sammy, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about some of the strategies that he's put in place in his startup, just to pivot and adapt to the disruptions that have taken place. Thanks, Sammy.
Hey, everyone. So just going to give a little bit of context. I'm an international student studying here in Deakin University, and I'm studying mechanical and electrical engineering here in my second year. But I also have been working on my startup for about 2 years in the field of education technology. So what my company did was we built a hardware based on Arduino that people can use for them to learn about coding, programming, things like that. But we take it to a level that's as simple as possible and as engaging as possible, because we want as many people as possible to get our product and start learning how to program things. So what we're doing is we have a couple of sort of like streams of income in our company. We are doing a lot of different workshops and seminars. So we work with schools and institutions and like tuition center, learning center, those kind of things. And we are also developing 2 kind of products. And yeah, so we have products and services. And during this situation, because, so we've been operating in Indonesia, in Surabaya particularly. We have worked with 7 schools in Surabaya. And due to the COVID situation, these schools, they no longer have on-campus activity, but we do have the extracurricular lessons that we have planned from before the COVID situation. So our strategy to overcome the situation is we do everything online, basically. And while we're doing everything online, I always think like in every bad situation, there's of course the good side of it. So it's like we're trying to flip things around. So for example, this is our productivity in our startup. Like it's about this level, for example, before COVID situation. And then for some other things, because we are occupied with this first thing, our productivity level for some different activities are like this level. But because of COVID, we might not be able to do some of our activities. So we will use that time to do the things that we won't be able to do if not for the COVID situation. So now we do have more time. And during this time, we do a lot more like strategy planning. What are we going to do after this ends? And then we do a lot of more because I'm doing a hardware company. So I did more like more prototyping, more testing about of the design, initial design, and do things like that. So it's been, it really isn't that hard for me to work from home, especially because our team is right now very small. Our team consists of less than 5 people right now, but and my co-founder is my own brother. He's working in Indonesia, so he's in charge of all the operation in Indonesia. while I'm in charge of the operation in Australia. And so far, everything's been going pretty well. So this is my dorm, basically. And this is also my own office. If you look right here, there's a 3D printer here. So I do a lot of my prototype over here. But next to my 3D printer is like literally my bed. So everything is done like in this room. And I've been trying to work as productive as possible during this situation. Yeah, that's pretty much from me.
Thank you so much, Sammy. It's so cool to see that you're able to do so much from that tiny dormitory bedroom. And yeah, congratulations on all the things that you've achieved and with your startup in the last year and more. And Sammy didn't mention this, but he was actually recognized at the most recent UNESCO World Engineering Day competition for the contributions that Sammytronics, his startup, has made to the Sustainable Development Goal of quality education. So well done, Sammy. I'm going to open up the floor for Q&A now. And like I mentioned in the chat, if you'd like to ask a question, pop your name in the chat and I'll call out your name. So we've kind of formed some kind of line, I suppose. And you can address your questions to Dr. Dina from the Greater Hub, Daisy from Spark Deakin, or any of the founders who spoke tonight, or even up to the whole floor if you have general questions. We've got Megan here from the City of Melbourne if you've got a Melbourne specific question to ask. We've got Bu Orchid, who is from the Indonesian Consulate General. You might have a question to ask her. So, whatever it is, just pop your name in the chat, and we've got just short of 10 minutes for question and answers.
I was just going to say, while you guys putting down a question, you can either, I guess, say it out or type it up, but I just want to acknowledge that the first time I met Sammy, he came in for a mentoring session and he'd already sort of done so many of his designs and everything. And I remember he showed me a very sleek video of what he'd built. And I said, how did you get this video? And he said, oh, it's just my hobby to do videography on the side. He's a bit of a go-getter. And it's really impressive that no matter what the circumstances are, you sort of persevere. And I think that's what's really brilliant. So yeah, I think looking forward to questions. I noticed about early 22% of you said you're sort of new to the startup space and about 40% of you are students. So the bulk of you are curious and new to this space. So no matter how basic your question is, that's fine too. If you think it's simple, it might even be, how's a startup different to a business, or anything really, really basic, happy to take it. Ellen Laura from Australia has a question. Ellen, you can unmute yourself and ask, or I guess you can type it, whatever you feel most comfortable with. I don't know if you can hear me. Ellen, can you hear us?
Cool. So Ellen says she's looking for advice on next steps. Ellen, can you tell us a little bit more about your situation so we can have a little bit of context to give you advice based on? You're welcome to unmute yourself as well, if you'd like.
Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself just then.
Okay.
I'm looking at, I want to start a life coaching / fitness sort of thing. And I've only just sort of got that idea. So I'm just looking for advice on the next steps really to take.
Yeah, Ellen, so you said life coaching sort of fitness type of business, right?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I'd say in terms of startup, I describe that more as a lifestyle / smaller business, which is still completely valid, a little bit different to a technology-based startup.
Yeah.
I can actually, although it's not something we usually cover so much in our entrepreneur program, I can send you some details about resources in that space because I'm across that anyway.
And, that would be awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, and especially how to deliver certain things online. There's great platforms I'll just mention a few Teachable that provide a flat rate monthly to deliver online educational or online things like that. There's a lot of people taking their sort of classes or workshops to that. So I think Deeds and I are happy to send you some resources on how to get started on that, from how you deliver online, how you sort of build up a mailing list, and how to sort of utilize social media, maybe Instagram, to acquire your customers.
That would be awesome. Thanks.
Awesome. No worries.
Thanks, Daisy. Thanks, Ellen. We've got another question here from Akbar. He says, hello, I just graduated and wanted to start my own business, but the COVID-19 has rendered my business unable to start. I have been thinking to switch ideas to be more mainstream, but they also, I won't say that word, also affected by this outbreak. Akbar, would you like to add to that if you're on the call?
Halo.
Ya, silakan.
Halo, halo, halo. Halo.
Yeah,
Hello.
boleh.
Oh, okay. Should I answer in English or Indonesia actually? English.
Whichever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
I can translate.
Okay, I'll start with English first. So actually, my business idea is in my second question is costume commissioning service for convention. Basically, I make costume for people go to convention, but sadly, a few weeks ago that SDCC San Diego Comic Con, one of the largest costume convention, popular comic conventions, is canceled until next year. So for me, there is no actually incentive to actually whether to start or continue. I mean, should I switch to the more mainstream or more essential business ideas, or I just continue with this? So if I'm about to move to essential.
Hello, Akbar. Freeze, I guess.
Hello.
Yeah, you were freeze.
Freeze. Oh, should I repeat the question or not?
No, actually, what is your you haven't mentioned clearly about your ideas.
Yeah, my idea is actually presented is actually my master thesis. So actually, custom commissioning service for popular culture convention like STCC San Diego Con, but until next year. So I mean, like I've been talking to the folks at Costume Forum, Costume Forum, then they're actually really sad. And from this, I actually postpone the art, or I actually switch to the more mainstream essential business ideas. That's my first question.
Okay, Dilata, actually, I want to answer the question. May I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so Akbar, very interesting idea here that you want to create a costume commissioning service for conventions. This is really new. I just knew that. But actually what you need to think about that we are going to face probably a very different situation right after COVID, yeah. Some actually the needs are still there, but actually the behavior would be changed. Yeah, most likely, for instance, they will change the channels of how they deliver the business, how they sell the product and everything, offer the services, and also most likely how they consume things. Yeah, that's the most likely what will happen after the COVID. We call it the new normal, and someone called it low touch, right? Low touch economy. Everyone, the trust level will be lowering compared to before COVID, yeah, and some business will arise as a response, yeah, of the new normal. And probably what you need to find is actually to understand what the new normal will be. How will you convert this business to from offline to online as your main platform? Because based on my understanding, seeing our friends in Bandung, Indonesia, Jakarta, where else, yeah, startup who win in the situations are those who are actually agile enough to change, to adapt with the situations. For instance, some in food, for instance, some restaurants they are suffering with their cash flow. But some restaurants which can transform their food into like frozen food, they are succeed very well. And some fashion industry, for instance, if they don't have any online channel, they will suffer. But some of them which already have the good digital channels, they are actually, the sales actually increasing very high. So it is depend on your readiness in facing the new normal. So you need to do more research about the behavior, because most likely what I understood, your customer will be the business to business, right? The business to business. So you need to find who are your customers. Are there the event organizer or the corporate or probably individuals could be business to customers. So most likely, I think your business can be conducted online. Yeah, you need to find a new
Yeah.
market behavior.
Yeah.
I think that's visible.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to cut you guys short in a second, but if you want to
Okay.
finish what you're saying, Dina, all good?
No, all good, all good.
Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you,
Okay.
Akbar, for asking a question as well. So I am conscious that we have hit the 1 hour mark. So if, if you've got to go and get on with your evening or your day, you're most welcome to do that. There is one more question in the chat that I think would be great to address because it concerns Australia and Indonesia. So if it's been addressed to Dr. Dina, so if you're happy to answer that, I'm happy to stay here for another 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but I definitely understand if anyone else has got to go on with their evening or their afternoon, that's totally fine. So thank you so much for joining us. I'll just get Dr. Dina to address the question that Jerry G has asked in the chat, which asks, what are the gaps between I've lost it. Okay, the gaps that exist between Australia and Indonesia companies to participate and trade in each other's markets. What are some big problems and opportunities for startups to address? And I think I'll get Dr. Dina to answer this quickly, and also maybe Megan, if you've got something to add to it, because you have been working with both startups from Melbourne and Bandung. And maybe I might, we'll kick off with Dina and then Megan.
Okay, so based on my understanding, it's depend on the industry that you are in. So according to my visit to Melbourne, meet some of the startups, meet some of the incubators, accelerators, I'm quite understand that some of the startups in Indonesia and in Australia has actually the same value propositions. I guess I must say that, and I saw also. We can have the joint market like in Australia and Indonesia. As you know, probably the Indonesia can become the big market for Australian, and also the Australian can also have the right source for the technology development. Well, I guess now after this COVID, we have the good side of this that. Before that, the time, places could become the main gap on each startups to collaborate. But now we are get used to all of these online situations. It's not becoming the problem anymore. The work, everything can be done remotely. We can use any productivity tools, to just to make sure that we are productive enough. So in terms of the operational, I guess it's no longer become a main problem right now. But for the market, I guess, so probably if in terms of some specific products like food or everything that need to have some certification, that could be one of the, I won't say it's a problem, but it's a challenges to face. So at least if, for instance, if a startups in Indonesia and Australia want to have is the joint venture, it's very possible, and it will be easier if one founder in Indonesia, one founder in Australia, and if you want to have the product in Indonesia at the same time product in Australia, the main challenges would be the certifications, because the both countries has different regulations to cope with some products. Yeah, for instance, in Indonesia, import and export regulations, the regulations attached with the ingredients of the products. Like wood, food made of particular things, and some other things. Yeah, so ingredients could become one of the challenges that you need to face in terms of the certifications. Like Indonesia, if you want to sell food, it need to be halal. I don't know if in Australia. So some regulations need to be what to call it? You need to cope with those regulations. That's probably the main challenging things. The other things in terms of collaborations, productivity, everything else, I guess it could no longer become the challenge or problems, for both countries.
Awesome.
I guess.
Thank you, Dina. That's a very comprehensive answer. And Megan, if you're still here, would you like to quickly add something to that?
Yeah, sure. I think that, yeah, I probably don't have too much to add compared to what Dina said. I think in terms of opportunities for Australian startups anyway, we've got 20 million people here in the whole of Australia, and you've got a market size of 250 million over in Indonesia. So I think in terms of the opportunities, they're huge for Australia. But there's also complementary, I think, opportunities for Indonesian startups as well, looking at, I guess, some of the commercialization and research and development capability coming out of Australia. And I guess in addition to what Dina said, some of the IP protection things is just some of the challenges. But one of the, I guess, opportunities that I see, particularly in my work as well, and my previous work, and you've probably seen it too, Deleta, is the huge number of Indonesian students, and particularly in Victoria, which currently, obviously, there's a lot of them not able to come, but Indonesian students are probably, I think, the fourth largest group of international students that come and study in Australia, and a lot of them do go back to Indonesia, and we have a huge network of alumni over there. So I think there is great potential to tap into, and I just noticed on the comment there was a thing about the cultural differences and understanding those, and I think given those close ties we have, particularly in the education space, I think that cultural understanding is improving and only going to grow with those networks as well. So I think there is huge opportunities, and particularly for more collaboration around there in terms of building closer ties between our ecosystems.
Absolutely. Thank you, Megan. And then just to wrap up, because I do remember there were a lot of us earlier in the poll who said that they were new to exploring the entrepreneurship space. I was just wondering if Daisy, you'd like to just, close it off with a few remarks and I don't know, it's just some notes to,
All right.
Yeah, for the
sure.
new entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I think if you're a new entrepreneur, well done on being on this chat. I think it's pretty progressive and proactive of you to show up to something like this to sort of start learning. So that's really good. I think when you're new to this space, at the moment, obviously, there's a lot of startup events. So it's picking and choosing the ones you want to go to and immersing yourself. The first year that I got involved in this space after I got back from Thailand, I spent almost a year going to a lot of events, and I took part in a lot of brilliant hackathons, or sometimes they're called startup boot camps that are run, I think, by Techstars and Google. They happen all around the world. Right now, a lot of hackathons will be run online, like Hack the Crisis we did in Australia last week, but they're running all around the world. So these hackathons let you do a few things. One is, like, I think someone else here who was it that said they were a designer and that they wanted to find out how to, I think Melissa.
That was
for
Melissa.
example. Yeah, Melissa said, so this sort of answers your question as well, Melissa, but hackathons give you an opportunity to collaborate with people with a different skill set to yours, and that's really important. So if you're the technical person or you're the design person, generally you want to find other people to work with who complement you. So you could be really, really good at sales, and you probably need to match with someone who understands how to do the technical build or the design element to either be a co-founder or to at least work with for a period of time. So hackathons and startup boot camps allow you to do this. A lot of universities run them as well, once or twice a year, but other organizations run them. So if you look up hackathons in Indonesia in your area or Australian hackathons, you'll find these. Some of these offer great prizes. And I want to echo, the Open Innovation Competition by City of Melbourne. If you're new, give it a go. You might think things like, I probably don't know if, my input is valuable. You don't always need to go into those things with a lead. If you're a very brilliant designer, you can usually try and find a team and partner up with them to be able to work on a solution like that. You don't always have to take the lead role, but finding a team and getting involved and making it open. Maybe if you're looking for a team, post on your LinkedIn or post on startup Facebook group saying, hi, I'm Daisy, I'm good at XYZ. I'm looking for 2 other people to partner up with to take part in this competition. And always just, being like, I just want to learn, because people really want to work with you and you want to learn. Being very aware of, like, giving and taking. Sometimes if you feel like you've got all the idea and you need someone else to help you execute it, then it becomes a little more difficult to find someone, because you might propose that to them in a way that doesn't seem as collaborative. So just be conscious of that. But hackathons, Open Innovation Competition, the one that's happening in City of Melbourne and other cities, these are great for applying your skills, for exposure. I mean, it's usually free exposure. Marketing can be expensive sometimes, so it's free exposure is brilliant. Also, you get to collaborate and meet other people, and you get, like, sort of feedback on your ideas, which is really good in the early stage. You want to get as much validation a really common thing I hear from early startup founders is, will someone steal my idea? Nobody's going to steal your idea. That matters less, especially if you're not a researcher. I mean, I think they fit in sort of two categories. If you're not working on real sort of intellectual property or research or discovering or inventing something, then just there's less, the value in your idea is in execution. Obviously don't go sharing all of your plans, but the high level idea, I normally encourage sharing that to get as much feedback and to find collaborators as possible, sort of on the high level. That's sort of how you find them across groups. And like in Melbourne, there's Melbourne startups, there's, you know, Sydney startups, there's a different sort of startup group, Facebooks, and they're very active and very supportive and collaborative. So if you're new, that in summary, events, hackathons, finding teams. If you've got an idea, share your idea on LinkedIn, online, try to find people that might collaborate with you. The other thing
Quick question, Daisy. Someone's asked there, any methods for validation?
Oh, that's a great one. In terms of validation, I would suggest there's a great resource called Customer Dev Labs online on YouTube. There's a small 7-minute video that we'll put in the, I think, in the email, but it's how to interview customers. The best way to validate is to get out there, and one is to validate the problem, and then the solution validation. So there's two different things. One is validating how big of a problem is the problem you're seeking to solve and who faces that problem, right? And the second is, okay, now you've gone and built a solution. How do I validate that this solution is right? But you're asking a really good question there in terms of validation. Is a lot of people run to market thinking they've got all the answers, but you've got to treat everything as like an assumption, and that slowly you're going to learn how to overcome those assumptions through data and information, not to get too emotionally attached. Startup is like, or an idea, it becomes like your baby. People say nobody wants to hear their baby's ugly, right? So sometimes you've got to learn to be very, not too emotionally attached with the feedback you get to your idea, and just treat it as, okay, I've got 100 points of data or 50 points of data, and 50 people said these things and the others said these things.
Thanks, Daisy. Amazing. And then Dr. Dina, do you have one last tip maybe for new founders? And then we'll wrap it up.
Okay, for the new founders, please about the resources on how you may start your ideas. Yeah, there are many resources you may find it online. You may Google it. Yeah, for instance, like design sprint, how to do like value proposition, canvas and everything. Yeah, there are many tools actually available online. So it is really good opportunities and a good time for the startups to start, because you don't have to be enrolled in Harvard or else, yeah, particularly in ITB to start a new business. So everything like what we discussed in the chat room, yeah, how to do the customer validation, how to do the product development, yeah, every material. If you just search it, there are many tools available online, also in YouTube. Or probably you can join Spark Deakin or also the Greater Hub in Indonesia. Yeah, we always have like workshops for publics. So and you can just join, yeah, because we always shares not only experiences from the successful startups, but also some methodology, what kind of tools that you need to use, yeah, in your particular stages, yeah, and everything available online. Yeah, just search it, yeah, and please never ever give up. Yeah, although I know the situation is not really good for all of us. Yeah, nobody actually prepared, yeah, for this kind of situations, and it will end soon. Yeah, I hope. Yeah, some said in June, some said in July, but it will end. It is like another SARS back in 2008, right? And what you need to do in these situations, yeah, please equip yourself, because everything will be totally changed right after these situations. Make sure you are well equipped. Yeah, make sure you have a productive time. Don't use Netflix that much. Yeah, instead you can use like EduX. There are many online courses provided by top universities for free. Make sure that you make most of your time to learn new skills. Because I hope after you can go out from your house, you will be totally different you, right? Well equipped, and you are well ready for the new normal. That's all from me, Dileta.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Dina. And thank you everyone for being here. Like Daisy said earlier, good on you all for tuning in and making the time. There are so many opportunities out there, and it's definitely, you know, even though COVID is not ideal, it's still the best time to, I mean, we've never lived in a better era to begin a startup where the barrier for entry is so low and all the tools and resources that you can take advantage of are all there. And there's so many support organizations like Deakin, the Greater Hub, and locally in the different cities that you live in as well. City of Melbourne has been really active in supporting businesses, small businesses and startups here as well. So definitely check out the Open Innovation Program when that opens later on in May. I'll include a link. I'll ask Megan to maybe provide me with a link, and we'll include that in the wrap-up email so you'll all have access to it. And I'll send out the wrap-up email tomorrow. We'll wrap it up there, guys. We're 15 minutes well over time. Thank you so much for your stamina and staying on. We started with I think 50 or 45. We've still got 38 on the call right now, and that's been incredible. And really enjoyed spending my evening with you all. We're gonna close it there. Thanks everyone, and hopefully we'll see you again soon in our next virtual event. There, you know, no barriers now to attending virtual events, so I hope we can stay in touch.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye.
Bye everyone. That music transition, so smooth.
Elevator music.
Have a good night. Have a good afternoon.
Thanks, guys.